Hi, I'm Vic Vogel. And this isn't about Chat with Vic. This is about Vic Vogel, citizen in the United States of America. And I'm really pissed off. I'm pissed off at everybody who keeps screaming inflation. And these people have no fucking idea what inflation is about. They have no idea. They don't know what causes it. They blame Biden because he's in office because the GOP says he did it. They know he didn't do it because they did it and they didn't want to accept blame when they did it. The President of the United States is not in control of a whole lot of things, folks. And one of them is inflation. He doesn't control, Biden didn't control inflation. Trump can't control inflation. No president's going to control inflation. They can adjust factors. They can try to, put Band-Aids on things, but they don't cause inflation and they don't cause it to go away. It comes from monetary gains. It's an impact of the Federal Reserve and what it does with interest rates. But it's also an impact of everything that's going on around the world. I mean, the whole damn world's screwed up with inflation. Why are you worried about inflation? The whole fucking world has got an inflation problem. You think Biden's going to fix the whole world? I don't think so. I don't think Trump would either, and I don't think anybody else would that you think DeSantis or anybody else. They're not controlling inflation in their states even. Okay? So here's my deal. Quit worrying about inflation. If you want to understand what's going on with inflation, look it up a little bit. It's coming from being shut down from the pandemic. Then we got back up in gear real fast. I mean, we did some things that, put people back to work and put kids back in schools. And all of a sudden, there was a little more money to spend, and people were spending it. And consequently, inflation started hitting. They were rebounding from a fucking pandemic, folks. They were spending. They maybe were spending money they didn't have to spend, but they were spending. They were going to credit card debt or whatever. But then that spending caused a problem because we couldn't get our supply chain back in gear fast enough to solve the demand need. So guess what? Those 2/5 of our economy, the rich, the super rich and the rich in general, they weren't suffering. They weren't cutting back. They were going on luxury vacations. They were spending money on niceties, not necessities. They were making more money than they've ever made in a long time. You, truck driver, cashier, restaurant worker, just everybody, construction worker, whatever, your average person, the bottom 3/5 of the country, the lower income brackets, under $100,000, $75,000 under, you guys were cutting back. You weren't going out to eat anymore. You were buying less drinks. You were buying less clothes. You were trying to get by cutting back on costs. The upper 2/5 were not. They were fueling this economy by buying more and more and more. And they represented 60% of the income coming into this country. The 2/5 of the country were representing 60% of the money being spent in this country. So while you were suffering and cutting back, you tell me you understand inflation. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit if you believe that inflation is a Democrat or Republican problem. It is a money problem. It is a rich versus poor problem. While you were suffering, they were spending money. They were fueling the inflation. You saw gas prices go up. Well, we reacted. We took some fuel reserves that we need, but we took them and we lowered prices for you. And then guess what? The oil companies raised the prices again. And then the Saudis decided they were going to get in the game, which we don't control the Saudis. And then we have Russia attacking Ukraine, causing a fuel or energy issue. None of that does Biden control. Even if he got out of Ukraine, he wouldn't control that. In fact, Russia would have a stronger control over it. See, if you're looking at the facts, if you're looking at the reality, you don't have any control over that. Biden doesn't have any control. The Republicans don't have any control. It's all a pointing game. It's all a big-ass lie, and it's pointing fingers. The fact is, the question becomes not about inflation. That's going to happen. And then the Feds will begin to raise interest rates, and it'll go down over a period of time. Hopefully we won't go into a recession, but we could. But a recession is not bad. If you're pissed off about inflation, you shouldn't be worried about a recession, because that's going to make inflation go down, right? It's like a damn circle game. You can't break it. Somebody got to reach in there, grab it, and snap the whole thing and say, what the hell are we doing? We're running around in circles, making one thing worse, and then the next thing gets worse, and everything. The only problem is the circle spiraling upwards. It never spirals back down. Once it goes away, your gas price doesn't go back down to 75 cents a gallon. It stays around $2.50, $3. See, your grocery bill won't go down the same percentage as it rose. You can count on that. Why? Greed. And that top 2/5, they're getting filthy rich off of you right now. Just go look it up. Go look at the numbers. Go find them yourself. They're all over Google. So that's what's going on with inflation. So you can't vote inflation in or out, folks. If you're thinking that, you're making a stupid ass mistake. It's just simple. You can't vote it in or out. What you can do is you can vote people into office who care about other people, who are trying to do the right things, people who are going to deliver food to people who need it when they don't have any money, who will try to keep people from kicking your ass out into the street, kicking women and children out in the streets. We would have had that happen. We're trying to reduce debt for students, so when they go out and start earning a living, they don't spend the next 30 years paying a crazy interest rate for a huge school debt. And look how much college went. I mean, I remember when I was in bachelor's program in 1970, and I know what it cost to go to school then, and I could have kind of afforded it without taking out a loan. I could never do that today. I could never do that. What the hell happened? Were the teachers all of a sudden so much smarter? What was the price increase so much that for me to learn from somebody else? Where in the hell is the supply chain problem with that? Now, this is about people who are making money, wanting to make more money, while you try to suffer. It's real simple. Again, go look at who benefited during the pandemic and has been benefiting ever since then. Look who is suffering and trying to put it back together. Look who is helping you while you're suffering. And it sure as hell isn't the upper 2/5. And who represents the upper 2/5? The Republicans. These are the people who said, I want to cut your Social Security if you're an elderly person living on Social Security. I want to cut Medicare. I want to cut, I want to fight against giving any student loan breaks, even though we're reducing the deficit $1.4 trillion. They never did that. The Republicans haven't done that. They didn't do that. They caused $2.4 trillion. They never reduced it that much. They never reduced it any. So we're reducing the deficit, which means, we can pay for taking those loans off of people, which makes it easier. So what is government about? Is it about controlling inflation? Is it about controlling abortion? Is it about... No, it's about what helps people. The government should be worried about us. We own the government. Well, we used to. Now it's the filthy rich. But we can get it back. And that's what you got to do in November. In just a few weeks, you need to give the House and the Senate the majority of Democratic people they need, because the only people who have delivered anything to the vast majority of Americans is the Democrats. They are the only one with a fiscal plan. You can't get a Republican to give you a solid answer as to how they're going to control inflation, except maybe lower the taxes on the rich so more companies can make more money. Well, hell, that's been happening the whole time anyway. Look where you are now. Wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. You need to go solve this problem now. If we don't, we're going to be suffering. More importantly, your kids and your grandkids are going to suffer in the upcoming years. Not to mention, we could lose all our freedoms. We could lose all our freedoms. How do you feel about sitting down and talking with your granddaughter about her having no choice? Now, I'm a Christian, but I'm not a Christian nationalist. If anything, I think they've done more harm. Woke? You talk about woke? That's what Republicans want to talk about, woke. They're banning books. They're telling you what you can teach your kids in school about history that is a lie. It's not true. If your child or your granddaughter happens to ask you, was there slavery in our history? Were slaves mistreated in our history? Are you trying to tell me we're supposed to tell them no? Really? You're kidding me, really? I'm sorry. So I will tell you this. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for people to start turning around and being neighbors to neighbors and quit worrying about the goddamn Republican versus Democrats. I'm beginning to think it's the worst thing that ever happened to us. It was really a tool that the super rich were able to use to control and divide America so that they can sustain the control that they've had this whole time. Again, go back and look at who became wealthy during the pandemic and since then, and who has been suffering. Look those articles up. You're going to find there's a big disparity, and inflation is not on the ticket. Inflation is not something either party can solve. It's a series of how you deal with incidents. Not supporting Ukraine, that's not going to get a gas pipeline going back. And if Russia controlled Ukraine, they can control wheat, they control a whole bunch of other things, and all of a sudden they're dictating prices. And you want a fascist dictating prices to you? In the world, I don't think so. If you do, you're stupid. And I'll just say that outright. You just be stupid. But you have to recognize, you can't deny it. I mean, it's crazy for you to even think you can deny it. It's just right so much in your fucking face. You can't deny that inflation is not on the ticket. There's nothing you can do about inflation. That's in the feds, and what the world does to control what's going on. And you can't control the Saudis, you can't control Iraq, you can't control Russia. Those aren't those are sovereign countries. We can't tell them what to do. We think we can, but we are putting too much emphasis on us as a country and what we think we can do. That's arrogance. That's arrogance. And we're paying way too much emphasis on what we think the President of the United States can do. I don't care who is in office. Okay? Now, what you can do is you can cause a lot of hate and discontent and a lot of pain for everybody who isn't wealthy. You can do that as a politician. And that's what's going on in red states. Okay? It's going on around the country. And we have people who are fighting against that. So you do have a very clear delineated choice in November. Do you want freedom? Do you want democracy? That's what's on the ticket. It's not inflation. You're not going to control inflation by picking a party. You're not going to control abortion by picking a party because people will figure out how to get abortions. They always have. You're not going to stop people coming across the border with either party. Neither party has done that. Think about that. Neither party has done that in probably the 30 or 40 years I've known that they've been trying to do it. They haven't really controlled abortion outside of the fact they have controlled the ability to reduce deaths from abortions, but they didn't control abortions. Okay? They didn't control gun violence. It's going rampant. It was going rampant under Republicans and Democrats. This isn't about Republican Democrats. It's about guns. Just that simple. I can tell you, if you don't have a gun in your hand, you're not going to shoot somebody. So everybody keeps saying it takes a good guy with a gun to stop a bad guy with a gun. If neither people had guns, you don't have that problem, folks. So that argument just fucks right there. You need to get your shit together as a country. We really need to get our shit together. And we need to do the right thing. We need to be focused on the right things. Not the things that Republicans are telling us, the media are telling us, or even the Democrats are telling us, We need to do what we know is right. We've done it for over 200 years. We are a good people on both sides. There are no, in my eyes, I have disavowed the whole damn Republican Democrat. I disavow them all. I have to vote one way. I'm forced to vote one way or the other. Think about that. I'm forced to vote one way or the other. What if I didn't want to vote for any of them? I just don't vote. Therefore, I lose my right in America. How stupid ass is that? Okay? So I'm telling you, I hear all of this news on Twitter and all the social media and all the media outlets, all the polling and all that stuff, who is controlling voting, abortionist or inflationary, the economy, or, Republicans. Yeah, hey, I don't think any of them know. But what I do know is the facts are pretty clear. Who got rich during the pandemic and who is still continuing to get rich and who is struggling. And it isn't a Republican who's offering a solution. They're offering quite the opposite. For anybody who is struggling, they are offering the opposite. They're wanting to take away stuff and prevent you from getting help. Okay? But on the other side of the coin, there are people out there. I don't want to call them Democrats or Republicans. I'm just saying good people who care about people. Think about this from a business standpoint. Why do people go into business? I ask that question a lot as a consultant, and I got a lot of interesting answers, but most of the time I got to answer shareholder value. That's not why businesses get developed. I don't know one business that was ever developed on shareholder value. It was originally built on trying to solve a need that people have. And somewhere along the line, we have lost that focus and that balance of the importance of people making the business successful and consequently benefiting from that. We've lost that balance. Businesses don't think that way anymore. They think about the upper two-fifths in the stock market. You know, when the stock market runs up and down and crashes, 85% of America isn't impacted worth a shit. You know, they really aren't. They don't have the money to be in the stock market. They're not impacted. You know, So yeah, look at how much money Zuckerberg lost. I don't know, billions of dollars in like a week. It didn't impact him. It really didn't impact you either, did it? If you're on it. So get all that shit out of your head. What you're battling for right now is your freedom, your ability to make your decisions as a public, as a group of people who want to live their life a certain way. And that way should be democracy and freedom. The alternative that's being offered, and the Republicans say the Democrats wanting too much government control. Well, trust me, that fascism is a far more government-controlled structure than democracy. And that's what the Republicans are offering you. Fascism. Control. Same kind of people that run Hungary, Russia, China, all those countries that you for years and years and years said, even the Republican Party as a whole said, hey, we don't want like communism. We don't like these kinds of fascist countries. This is what they're pushing today. And it isn't the Republican people out there that are the problem. It's the people who have the money who are trying to control it that are the problem. It's been that way for years. That inequity has never been more prominent than it is now. Again, I don't care if you believe me or agree with me. What I do ask you to do is look up the facts and don't deny them because you're, quote, a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't make a difference. I don't give a shit who you are as a Republican or Democrat. You're not controlling inflation with this vote. You're not. What you are controlling is whether or not you're going to have a government that offers democracy and freedom versus one that wants to control your vote, wants to control your money, wants to control you. There'll be a lot less freedom in this country on November if you do anything but provide a majority of Democrats in the House and the Senate to support Joe Biden. Now, then you can go to work on those guys. Then you can say, hey, look, you need to get your shit together too. You know, you can't go way over here. You can't go way over there. But you know, whatever you give us needs to be, you need to show you can pay for it. And then you need to show us why you need to give it. And you can do that. But at this point, we're past that. Well, you know, right now it's whether you want to keep your freedom or you want to be controlled by a dictator. And that is just the pure, hard-bone core facts. You got about, what, I don't know, 15 days to make up your mind. And the reason I'm saying this is I hope you select the right thing, because it's scary thinking about how my grandkids might grow up in this world right now if we don't do the right thing. I'm Vic Vogel. I'll see you later on programs about leadership and a little less negative tone. Okay? Check with you later.